are going to have a look at some exam style questions for changing the subject of the formula. So dive straight in. Question 1 then. Make P the subject of this formula. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to rewrite the question here, which is m is equal to 3n plus 2p. Okay, so we want to make P the subject of the formula. That initially means that I need to get this 2p part on its own on the right hand side of the equation. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to take 3n from both sides of the equation. If I take 3n from the right hand side, it means that this 3n will disappear. And then on the left hand side, it will leave me with m minus 3n, and that will be equal to 2p. Okay, and then we are very nearly in a position to finish the question. What I need to do now is divide both sides of the equation by 2, which will leave me with p on this side. 2p divided by 2 will leave me with p, and then over here will leave me with n minus 3n, all divided by 2. That's something that some students will get wrong, is they won't divide the whole thing by 2. You want to make it really clear to the examiner, that you're doing that. There's nothing wrong with this final answer here, but just for completeness, I would always recommend write it on the answer line in the question. So p is equal to m minus 3n, all divided by 2. Okay, we'll jump straight into question 2. Make C the subject of the formula a is equal to 3c minus 4. So similar sort of thing, we will write the question out. A is equal to 3c minus 4. First thing I'm going to do then, get this 3c on its own. Why do I need to do that? Well, because I need to eventually get c. So I need to eliminate everything that isn't associated to c. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to add 4 to both sides of the equation. This will then get rid of this negative 4 here, so that will leave me with 3c on the right hand side, and then a plus 4 on the left hand side. And then the question effectively then is the same as above. We just divide both sides of the equation by 3, which will leave me with c here, and then a plus 4 all divided by 3 over here. And again, just rewrite that on our answer line. So a plus 4 all divided by 3 here, which is equal to c. Slightly different question here, but the premise really remains the same. So we've got y is equal to a half multiplied by x plus 1. So I need to get everything that isn't associated to that x onto the other side of the equation. So to do that, I'm going to take 1 from both sides. That's going to leave me with a half x on the right hand side, and then y minus 1 over here. Okay, so this a half multiplied by x. Well, we could rewrite that as x divided by 2. Now, how have I done that? Well, if we think about 6 multiplied by a half, well, that's 3. And if we think about 6 divided by 2, that's also 3. So we're quite happy really that that concept is okay and that we can do that. And then that's going to leave me obviously with this y minus 1 over here. Now, I need to get x on its own. How am I going to do that? I'm going to do the inverse, multiply both sides of the equation by 2, which is going to leave me with 2, and then in brackets y minus 1. Now you might be asking yourself, why have I done that? It's so that I make it really clear that it's 2 multiplied by the whole of this left-hand side of the equation. It's not just 2 multiplied by y, it's 2 multiplied by y and 2 multiplied by negative 1, which we can write as a bracket there. That's perfectly fine, and then we can write our final answer as x is equal to 2, and then in brackets y minus 1. No need for you to expand that bracket. It's just another step, another thing you could potentially get wrong. The examiner wouldn't expect you to do that, so that is fine as is. And then final question, we are going to change it up slightly so that we end with a bit more of a real life example, if you like, written question. So you are h feet above sea level, you can see d miles to the horizon, where d is equal to the square root of all of 3h divided by 2. Make h the subject of the formula. So d is equal to the square root of 3h divided by 2. Now if we've learnt anything from this video, is that we need to do the inverse to move things around in our formulas and equations. So if we were adding, we would be taking away to undo that. If it was multiplying, we would then divide both sides of the equation to undo that multiplication. So here we've got the square root of 3h divided by 2. So the inverse of that is squaring. So that's going to leave us with d squared on this side of the equation, and then 3h divided by 2 over here. I'll just run you through that again. To get rid of this square root, we effectively square both sides of the equation, so it leaves me with d squared there, and then on this right hand side it gets rid of the square root, so it just leaves us with 3h divided by 2. Okay, and we are after h as the subject. Well, we've got 3h divided by 2, so we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 2 to leave me with 3h here, and then 2d squared there. And then final step is to divide both sides of the equation by 3, which will leave me with h here, and then 2d squared divided by 3 there. And again, for completeness, we'll just write that on our answer line. 2d squared, write that a bit higher up, 2d squared divided by 3.